There is a quiet truth in life that many people ignore. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can create the biggest change. History has shown us this again and again. People like Mother Teresa and Abdul Sattar Edhi didn't begin with wealth or power. They began with something much simpler: compassion. But if kindness is so powerful, why do so many people hesitate to help others? Why do we often think, "What will I get in return?" Today's story answers that question. And by the end of it, you may start seeing life very differently. In a small, dusty town, there lived a man named Rahim. Rahim was poor. So poor that even 2 meals a day were not guaranteed. Every morning he woke up before sunrise, not because he was disciplined, but because hunger didn't let him sleep. He worked as a daily laborer, carrying bricks, lifting heavy loads, doing whatever work he could find. Some days he earned enough to eat. Some days he didn't. His clothes were worn out, his shoes were broken, and his life felt stuck. But despite all this, Rahim had something many rich people didn't have: a soft heart. Even in his worst days, he never refused to help someone in need. One evening, after a long and exhausting day, Rahim was walking home. The sky was turning dark, and cold winds began to blow. His body ached, and his stomach was empty. All he wanted was to reach his small hut and rest. But suddenly, he noticed something. On the side of the road, under a flickering streetlight, sat a man. He looked weak. His clothes were dirty. His face showed pain. The man was clearly in trouble. Rahim stopped. For a moment, a thought crossed his mind. "I barely have anything. How can I help someone else?" It was a reasonable thought. Most people would have walked away, but Rahim didn't. He took a deep breath and walked towards the stranger. "Brother, are you okay?" Rahim asked gently. The man looked up, his voice trembling. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I tried to find work, but no one helped me." Rahim felt a sharp pain in his heart. He reached into his pocket. There was only a small amount of money, just enough to buy his own dinner. He looked at it. Then he looked at the man, and without thinking twice, he handed over the money. "Take this," Rahim said. "Buy something to eat." The stranger's eyes filled with tears. "But what about you?" he asked. Rahim smiled faintly. "I'll manage." That night, Rahim went home hungry, but strangely, his heart felt full. That night, Rahim couldn't sleep, not because of hunger, but because of a strange feeling inside him. For the first time in a long time, he felt peaceful. He had nothing, yet he had given something, and that made him feel rich. The next morning, Rahim went out again to look for work, but something unusual happened. A contractor, who had never hired him before, suddenly called him. "Hey you, come here. I need an extra worker today." Rahim was surprised but grateful. He worked hard the entire day, and at the end of it, the contractor paid him more than usual. Much more. Rahim couldn't believe it. It felt like life had suddenly shifted, just a little. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Rahim's life slowly began to improve. He started getting regular work. People began trusting him. Some even recommended him to others. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't sudden. But it was real. His life was changing. One day, while working at a construction site, a luxurious car stopped nearby. A well-dressed man stepped out. He walked confidently towards Rahim. Rahim didn't recognize him, but the man recognized Rahim immediately. "Do you remember me?" the man asked with a smile. Rahim looked confused. "I don't think so, sir." The man laughed softly. "Months ago, you helped a stranger on the road. You gave him your last money." Rahim's eyes widened. You? Yes, the man said. That was me. The man continued. I wasn't just a helpless stranger. I was going through a very difficult time. I had lost everything in a business failure. I was broken, mentally and emotionally. And that day, your kindness gave me strength. You didn't just give me money, you gave me hope. Rahim stood silently, listening. I decided to rebuild my life, the man said. And today, I've started again. I've rebuilt my business. Rahim was amazed, but what came next changed everything. The man looked directly into Rahim's eyes and said, I've been searching for you. Rahim was shocked. When someone helps you in your worst time, you don't forget them. You lift them up when you can. He took out a card and handed it to Rahim. I want you to come work with me, not as a laborer, but as a supervisor. I see honesty and kindness in you, and that's more valuable than skills. Rahim couldn't speak. His hands trembled, his eyes filled with tears. That single moment changed Rahim's life forever. He accepted the offer. He worked hard. He learned new skills, and slowly, step by step, he built a better life. Not just for himself, but for his family too. Years later, Rahim often thought about that one night, the night he gave away his last money. He realized something powerful. He didn't help the man expecting anything in return, but life returned it anyway. Not always immediately, not always in the same form, but it did. Life doesn't always reward us instantly. Kindness doesn't always come back the way we expect, but every good action creates a ripple. And those ripples come back to us in ways we can't imagine. So the next time you hesitate to help someone, remember Rahim. You may feel like you have nothing, but even a small act can change someone's life. And maybe, one day, it will change yours too. If you learned something from this story, share it with someone who needs motivation today. Because sometimes, the smallest kindness creates the biggest destiny.